Hi, and a magnificent, yes, I'm feeling magnificent today. Welcome to Steve's Kitchen. Today we're making that Christmas cake, the one that I spoke to you about earlier and gave you the ingredients for. Those of you that have just joined me, all the ingredients are written down below and also on Steve's Kitchen on the website, which I'll leave the link below. And as I said to you, this is a sort of live session today. And to prove that, well, if one of you asked me to put my right hand up, there you go. Point proven. Let's get on and make this fantastic Christmas cake. We'll start by showing you some of the basics. Now I've got an 8-inch or 20 centimetre cake tin here. If you're using a different size, we'll need to make some different calculations for the mixture. I'll leave that on my website. So I've got some greaseproof baking paper which I folded over into double, and just along the bottom edge where I folded here, I'm just cutting some little lines around about an inch up the paper. And then when you pop it in the cake tin, you'll have a little ledge for the bottom to sit into, get a nice seal. Now I've lined the tin with butter so it helps the paper stick, and I've cut a circle. We'll just pop that in the bottom. And the reason we've let the baking paper come up so high is to protect the cake while it's baking so it doesn't burn the top. Let's take our mixing bowl now and get and make our Christmas cake. Okay, we've got our 200 grams of butter, which is nice and soft, by the way, room temperature. So we'll pop that in there now. I'm going to add my 200 grams of soft brown, dark brown sugar. And you don't need a machine for any of this. We're just going to cream this together with a wooden spoon or a spatula. And there's our sugar and our butter all creamed together. Into that mixture, we're going to put 4 room temperature eggs, just break them straight into the mixture. So my eggs are in there now, and I'm just going to mix those in with my butter and my sugar. Now also into this mixture at the moment, we're taking the zest from our lemon and our orange, and that's going to add a lovely tangy flavour. I'm going to add a tablespoon of dark black treacle. And I'm going to add my 50 grams of almond meal in there as well. And then just continue to mix the batter up. Now don't worry at this moment if it looks a bit curdled and a bit messed. It's not a problem for this batter. The flour will start to bind it all together. Now we're going to take that 200 grams of all-purpose flour. That's 7 ounces. Just pop that into a sieve. And on top of that, I'm going to put my spices. I've got my teaspoon and a half of mixed spice. I've got my half a teaspoon of cinnamon, my nutmeg, half a teaspoon, and my salt. And then we're just going to sieve that over the top of the mixture. And then we're just going to mix that in and get ourselves a nice creamy batter. Now that's only taken a minute or so to mix together like that. We can start to add our fruit. So in go the 200 grams of raisins, 200 grams of sultanas, 200 grams of beautiful black currants, 150 grams of cranberries, our glace cherries and our mixed peel, and lastly our 50 grams of slithered almonds. And now we want to mix all that fruit in with our batter and get a really rich cake mix. Now you'll see as you mix that through just how rich this batter is, how heavy and delicious this cake is going to taste. So we've got that lovely rich fruit cake batter in there now, and we've got to get it into our tin. Now rather than lift and pour this in, I think it's easier to get a big spoon and just scoop this into our cake tin. And as you go, you can just sort of push it down, and then just using your spoon, just level down the surface of the cake. It doesn't have to be perfect. Now also what I tend to do with these fruit cakes is I make a bit of an indentation. They don't rise very much as a cake, but it will help it from having too much of a dome on the top, which we don't want. Now you will have licked your fingers and your hands, and guys, if you're making this now, taste that. It's delicious. What a piece of heaven. Now I've preheated my oven to 150 degrees Celsius, that's 300 degrees Fahrenheit. And we're going to cook this cake nice and slowly over 2.5 hours. Now after about 2 hours you can start to look at the cake, and then we're going to stick a skewer into it. I'll show you that a little bit later on just to check whether it's cooked. Now I just want to show you my cake's been in the oven for about 2 hours and 15 minutes, and the way I would test it in the oven, take a wooden skewer like this, you can use a metal one, and just push it into the cake and it should pull out like that perfectly clean. I don't know if you can see that there. That means the cake's cooked all the way through. Now we leave the cake in the tin until it's virtually cooled down before we try taking it out. Welcome back. If you're watching and making at the same time, you will have paused the video and your home, like mine, will smell of a delicious, I mean, it's like Santa's grotto in here. It smells wonderful. The cake has cooled down now and we're ready to take it out of the tin and take the paper off. So let's just release the spring form, pull that off of there. And then I'm just going to pop my hand in there, turn the cake over, and we should be able to fairly easily remove the tin or the base from the tin. And now we can just peel this paper off from around the tin, and it comes off really very simply. And also we'll just take the bottom off of there. Now look at that beautiful cake. You're seeing it as I'm seeing it here. The smell off there is delicious. I'm just going to turn that back over. Lay it down on my counter. So what are we going to do with this cake now? Well, the reason we've made it before Christmas is because between now and Christmas, we're going to make some holes with a chopstick or some implement in the top here, and we're going to pour a liquid of our choice, just a little bit, into the cake so the fruit plumps up. I'm going to be feeding my cake with a nice brandy. You could use a sherry. If you want alcohol free, as I say, you could even use a cranberry juice or an orange juice. Now, we're not going to feed it today. I'm going to store this away in an airtight container. You could actually wrap it round again with the wax paper and then put some aluminium foil over the top of it to seal the cake in. And we're going to feed it 3 to 4 times between now and Christmas. And then you'll be able to serve this up at Christmas time. It'll be beautiful and moist. All the fruit will be plump. It'll be delicious. Also, a little bit before Christmas, we will decorate the cake. We're going to be using that marzipan, and we're going to make a royal icing and make this thing look an absolute treat. So please join me then. Now I've moved my cake onto some parchment paper because I'm going to be wrapping the cake up after I fed it to keep all that moisture in and trap it in there. Now you could use a skewer, or I'm going to be using a chopstick here, and we want to make holes in the top of the cake, no deeper than halfway though, so if you use the side of the cake as a measurement, and you can make a dozen or so holes, just sort of push the chopstick in at different angles around the cake. And then, as I say, I'm going to be using brandy, but whatever liquid you decide to choose, just take a tablespoon of the liquid, and we just start to pour it near to the holes, just a little at a time. Let that soak in. So it might take 1 or 2, maybe even 3 tablespoons. And that is quite enough. Don't overdo it. Remember, we're going to be feeding this 2 or 3 more times between now and Christmas. They should be fed every week or so. So now we're just going to wrap the cake up nice and tight. And I've added some silver foil around the top of that just to hold the parchment together. Now, make a note on your calendars or diaries that in a week from now, we're going to unwrap this and we're going to feed it again. And then a fortnight from now, the same thing again, all the way up to Christmas. Now, I'm not going to be doing another video for that, but I will be doing a video near to Christmas where we're going to be decorating this, getting it ready for the festive season. It's going to look beautiful. We'll be using that homemade marzipan as well. Today we are decorating our Christmas cake. It's still wrapped up in here. If you made this cake with me and you've been feeding it over the last few weeks, it should smell absolutely delicious. It's now ready to decorate. We're going to need royal icing and marzipan. Now I've got videos on my channel for both of those. I've also got some decorations here. I'll just show you them. I've made them with a modeling chocolate, a bit of fun to top the cake off. So that's all you're going to need to decorate the Christmas cake. So let's get on and make this thing look festive. So here's my Christmas cake unwrapped. It smells delicious. You can tell just by touching it. It's beautiful and moist. I've got a plate here that I'm going to be putting the cake onto when I decorate it. But first of all, we have to level the top. This cake is a little bit uneven. So I'm going to be using some marzipan and a little bit of jam or marmalade just to bind the marzipan to the cake. I've got about 1 pound of marzipan here, that's about 500 grams, and I just want to put a bit of icing sugar down on the work surface, and then I just want to roll this marzipan out into a circle. Now I've rolled that out to about 1/2 inch thick, and it's still able to move on the work counter like that. When you put your cake on there, you want to have at least 1/2 inch, maybe 3/4 inch around the outside with marzipan. Now before we cover this cake with the marzipan, I'm going to put some jam on here or marmalade. I like to use marmalade. A lot of people use apricot jam, but I really like the flavour of the marmalade. So just take a couple of tablespoons of marmalade and spread it evenly over the top of your cake. So now I've got a lovely sticky layer of marmalade on the top of my cake. And here is my trick. Here's the way I'm going to get that top nice and flat. I'm going to take my cake now and turn it upside down and lay it in the center of the marzipan. We're then going to take a knife and trim, but we're going to leave about 1 centimetre or 1/2 inch of marzipan around the outside. And then remove the excess marzipan. And then using a palette knife, we're going to push the marzipan up against the side of the cake. And what this will do is it will start to fill the gap where the cake rounds meets the marzipan. And then if everything has gone according to plan, we should be able to gently lift this cake up now. And there we have a perfectly flat marzipan top. I can pop that down onto my Christmas cake stand, and now we can get on and decorate this. So now I'm going to take my royal icing, and again I've got a little under 1 pound of royal icing here, and I'm just going to start to spread it on top of my marzipan. And we're not looking to try and get a smooth flat surface with this, so you don't have to worry too much about how you put it on, because we're getting a sort of snow finish. So now I'm just going to take my chocolate fondant Christmas tree, I'm going to pop it on top of my cake, let it settle in there. Got my little snowman on there as well. And I never like to do a Christmas cake without a robin redbreast, and just pop him pretty much randomly on the top of the cake. And now we've just got to choose a nice piece of ribbon to go around the outside of this cake. And there it is, there is my Christmas cake. I've put a ribbon around there now. I'm just going to take a little bit of icing sugar and sprinkle it over the top of my tree and the robin, just a little bit of extra snow. And there you have it. I've had a heap of fun making the Christmas cake this year. I hope you've had a chance to join in and have some fun. Please share the love, give this the thumbs up. I will see you shortly. Be good. And as always, I'm going to leave some links here to some other Christmas videos. I've had a heap of fun with this one. I hope you have too. Be good. I'll see you shortly.